Welcome to another episode of the Story Geeks. Usually this show is hosted by the one and only Jay Sherer, but today Tones, Poppy, and myself are taking over. We are talking to Jay Sherer all about his film, No Vacancy. We were talking about the awards. We were talking about the circuit. We were going to break it down, talk about it up next on, well, the Story Geeks here on OG55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of the Story Geeks. I'm joined by my co-host today, Mr. Tones Poppy, and the one and only Mr. Jay Sherer. Tones, I'm going to start with you, brother. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well, man. I had a pretty good weekend. Got to relax and just chill. My niece's birthday, so family came over. So it was a very good weekend. Good time spent with family. So I enjoyed myself for sure.
Awesome. If you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social.
Yeah, you guys can find me on social media on tones_TV. You guys can also go to my YouTube channel, Bad Thoughts Studio and Bad Thoughts Podcast. For studios, we do a bunch of film stuff, movies, TV shows, breakdowns of film, trailers, all that good stuff. So if they interest you, go to Bad Thoughts Studios.
There he is. And the man of the hour, Mr. Jay Sherer. We were talking all about his film, No Vacancy, today. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about it. But Jay, welcome back, sir. Always good to have you.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I also had a pretty good weekend. I got to see, I miss LA a lot, right? So last time I was out in LA, OG and George took me to Universal Studios Hollywood, which is awesome. Modern Mouse, Josh Taylor from Modern Mouse, he took me to the Academy Museum, super dope. But so sometimes I get to miss Southern California, but Ozo Motley came through downtown Fort Collins over the weekend. And Ozo Motley is an old school band from Los Angeles. I say old school because I'm old. To me, they're not that old school, but they were really dope to see live. They were really cool, and it gave me a little bit of that LA vibe that I miss. So it's good, but it's good to be here. It's good to talk to you guys, and I like being on the Story Geeks without having to host it. To be honest, it's awesome.
There you go. Absolutely. Well, Jay, let's dive right in. Let's talk about this. So for those at home that are not aware of what No Vacancy is, because we last video we did on this, I think it was almost about a year ago. I think now it's been a little while, So if you want to kind of set the table, let everybody know what No Vacancy is and your connection to it, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah. So No Vacancy is a proof of concept, which I'll explain in a minute. Proof of concept short film that's a prequel to the film that we want to make. Okay. And the reason we did it this way is because I had written a feature script. There's a feature script called The Harlequin that I co-wrote with Nathan Sheck, and it's a low budget feature script. And I really wanted to make it, right? Like I wanted to make it. And so a proof of concept, the way I describe it to people is that a proof of concept is sort of like a resume, right? Or a prototype is a good way of looking at it too. Let's just say that you're going to build a product. You can actually say like, okay, I want to go raise money to build this product, but in order to raise money, I need to prove that I can build a prototype. And you go build a prototype, and then you go show the investors like, hey, this is what we built. If you just give us more money, we can build this bigger thing, right? And that's what a proof of concept film is. And so once we had the feature script in hand, and it did really well in some contests that we entered it in, and we really like it. We think it's a cool feature script. We said we should do a short film that's related to this feature that will cost us less money to make. Go make that short film, then showcase that around and tell people like, hey, we can do this, right? Like this is something that we can actually make. And then hopefully get people to make the feature film. So No Vacancy, that's what No Vacancy is. It is a proof of concept prequel film to now. There's a lot of ways that people do proof of concepts. You can do usually the way it's done is they do like a short film that like you could expand into a feature film, right? Like it's like, oh, this is a 5-minute short that you could expand into a feature film. Or they'll do like, oh, we're going to do like several scenes from the feature film, and that'll be our proof of concept. But of course, being a writer, coming from a writing background, I'm like, I'm not going to just rehash the same story. I'm going to write a different story to bring to the table. So that's why it's a prequel to the bigger film as well. So that's what No Vacancy is. And then, we put it on the festival circuit, and we can talk about all that kind of stuff, but that's where it comes from.
No, absolutely. And this is and we'll get into the Red Movie Awards, right? Yeah. It kind of ties into, this was your directorial debut, correct?
It was. So, okay. I have produced, let me think about this for a minute. I think I've produced 5 or 6 short films at this point, and I was a co-writer on 5 of those. There's only one film that I produced that I didn't write. And okay, so despite the fact that I have worked around Hollywood for a really long period of time and have a bunch of friends in Hollywood, if you were to ask me, like, what does a producer do? What does a director do? What does a DP do? I would be like, I mean, I've mostly just written stuff before, right? Like, so just to kind of define the roles for everybody who might be listening and like how they work, producer roles, first of all, there's like lots of different types of producer roles, right? You can be the person that comes in and you're a producer because you are friends with a bunch of actors and you convince them to be a part of the movie. That's a producer. You're going to get a producer credit on that, right? You're not a casting director because you know the people, but you're still going to get a producer credit. You could bring money into the film. You could be a project manager on the film, right? Where you're like, I'm going to work with the locations and the coordinates and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to coordinate this stuff, and that might be a production role. So production just means you're involved in the process of getting the film made in some way, shape, or form. But more so like on the project side with some creative input, but it's kind of like, it's not your, you control certain things, but it's not necessarily the entire oversight of everything that you control. That's like a producer thing, right? And so I had done that before, and I had, obviously everyone knows what writing a film is. You're the screenwriter, and you put all of the words on the paper.
Thanks for that. I had no idea.
Yeah. It's super confusing. Well, I hated being a producer. I hated it, dude. Like I was served as a producer because I wanted to see the films get made, but like basically being a producer for me is like taking my day job and all of the things that I dislike about my day job the most, and those are the things you have to do. And so for me, it wasn't like a thing that I was excited to do. It was a thing that I had to do just to make movies, right? And so because of that, I was always kind of afraid to be a director because I kind of felt like, oh, that must mean it must be even more intense to be the director, and like you have to even do more of that stuff that I don't like doing. Okay, so why would I direct the movie? So here's what happened. I was having a lot of long COVID flare-ups. I still have long COVID flare-ups, and to differing degrees. Sometimes I'm like can't do much. Sometimes I can do more. But so and because I'd never done it before, and I really believed in the script, both the feature script and the short script, because the short script did really well in contest. The feature script did really well in contest. The friends of mine who read them were like, "Oh, we really love these. Like, we can't wait for you to make them." I was like, I really don't want to screw this up, and I'm not sure I know what I'm doing because I don't know what I don't know, right? And so what I did was I called up my friend Lucas Colombo, and Lucas Colombo's dad operated a TV studio in Chile. And Lucas grew up around cameras, like literally like with a camera in his hand. Like I think somebody told me that there's pictures of Lucas as like a little kid, like manning a giant studio camera, like in like sets.
That's great.
And so I can't remember who told me that. I might have just made that up, but he grew up in and around cameras. And so he is sort of like the guy I go to because I know that if I have a film to shoot, you guys, if you've watched short films, you know how difficult it is to make them look professional. It's like you don't have a lot of budget. You're usually filming on cameras that are like borrowed or rented or something. But Lucas is like he's cinematic in his abilities, right? Like you could put him on a Hollywood movie set tomorrow and he would do a great job. Right?
Well, and that's the one thing that we talked about when for members on the channel, we actually did like a watch party with the cast and crew. And that was one thing I brought up during that watch party was like, I was really, really impressed with how cinematic the film looked. It was really top notch. But go ahead. I just wanted to add that in.
And that's
there.
a comment that like most people who watch them make, right? So I call up Lucas Colombo and I'm like, I want to make this film. And he says to me, "You're gonna want to direct it, right?" Because he could tell that like it was a very personal film to me,
Yeah.
and I had thought a lot about like why these things are on screen and why. And I was like, I do want to direct it, but will you be my co-director because I don't want to go spend a bunch of money and then screw it up, right? Like I don't want that to happen. And so he's like, yeah, that's totally fine. Like I've worked with other people in that way. And basically when it's someone else, what I try to do is let them take the reins. And then if I need to step in for some reason, like I will. And I'm like, that sounds amazing. And by the way, you don't get that kind of thing happening in Hollywood very often. In fact, you know, our mutual buddy, and I just say that he doesn't know who we are, but John Campia, who we listen to, he says it all the time. Hollywood is not what you deserve; it's what you negotiate, right? So, you know, as soon as like you get, as Lucas says, yeah, I'm the co-director. He could step into the set and be like, no, Jay, you're wrong. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. It's got to be this. You got to do this differently. But for a guy as talented as he is, and what he was up to, like he was amazing at letting me have a lot of the reins, right? So, so he has a co-director credit, and like I almost feel like the DP and the director are so closely tied together, hand in hand. It's weird for movies to have individual awards, to be completely honest. There's nobody that does anything by themselves. Like it just doesn't work that way, right? Somebody is talking to somebody else in order to make that thing happen that looks amazing on screen. It's not just one person. I mean, usually it's multiple people. So, anyways, I bring Lucas on as a co-director. And then Nathan Sheck, also my co-writer, was a really good sounding board. He sort of serves like a creative producer role because he's a super behind the scenes guy. I mean, like he doesn't show up to he doesn't want to talk at any of the festivals. He's like, Jay, go talk at festivals. I don't want to talk at festivals. I don't want to be on podcasts. I just want to be behind the scenes. And so, but he's really helpful as a creative producer. And the reason why I call him a creative producer is because I would do things like I would make shot choices, right? So what you do is, as a director, we'll probably talk about this later, but as a director, you come up with like, this is the shot that I want. So you have like a storyboard, or you have an example from another film. You know, this is the shot I want to do, but I want it to be a little bit different. I want to do this. And so Nathan would like look at those with me and say like, oh yeah, that's cool, or maybe we should make a little change here or there or whatever. So it's a super collaborative process. There's nothing you do that is like, I mean, the people who were like, I do everything, you're like, okay, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, so that's how that's how it was basically went down, is that I was really nervous to do it because I thought I might hate it based on my production arm work before. And Lucas was super awesome to be like, no, I'll just like, if there's something that's off, I'll guide you in it or whatever. But I'm going to take care of all the DP work, which is like, what is the lighting looking like? What is the color grading looking like? What is how have we framed the shot correctly? Right? He's working to frame the shots based on the shot suggestions that I give him. But you know, like even we had camera operators who would say, what if I just like tweak it this way a little bit? I'm like, that's even better. Do that, right? Like everybody is contributing. So it's a very collaborative process. But I found, and then I'll let you guys ask more questions because I'm talking too much. I found that I loved the directorial process. The pre-production, in production, and post-production, I thought was really fun, and I can't wait to do it again. So it's totally different than producing in my mind, because it's a different, similar skill sets in some ways, but applied differently to the filmmaking process, which was much, much different than I expected it to be.
I kind of want to elaborate on that, Jay, because you know, if you get into, like, say, a fantasy football league, right? You try to find people who want to play. Some people don't really watch football as much. You know, getting into the position where you get to choose who's being the producer, who's being this, who's being that. Like, how do you get someone to, I mean, initially you guys aren't going to be making the money back right away. Like, you guys aren't going to be getting a check from somewhere else. Right. And, you know, you guys, so you have to try to find people who are good at their job and who know that this may not pay in the short term what they, you know, aspire to get. Like, how do you go about finding those people, and who do you look for when it comes to that?
That's a really good question. Okay. So let me describe how different processes work. So it used to be, I'm going to go way back. There used to be what was called the studio system, right? In the studio system, I mean, we still call it the studio system today, but it used to be very different. What it used to be was you had these companies like MGM and Disney, and what they would do is that they would actually hire employees. And some of those employees were actors, some of those employees were directors, some of those employees were producers. And so it doesn't work like that anymore quite the same way, because the way it would work is that it was like I would have to go look this up to make sure this is an accurate example, but let's just pretend a hypothetical example that this works. Walt Disney would say, okay, so who do we have that we want to hire to do films with us? And they go, well, we want to hire Shirley Temple. So Shirley Temple, we hire her as an employee and we can put her in any film we want to. Right. There's no like you could still audition. They could still audition the people on their roster, let's say, but it was much more of a like controlled environment. What Hollywood has shifted to is that now you have these major big studios, and the way that they do their process is that they go out and kind of almost serve as like, where do we cobble together all of these parts? But they're not necessarily. This is where it's weird. They technically, a lot of them get hired as employees, not independent contractors, because that's just the way the unions must say the deal. But they're functioning more like independent contractors. I hire you for this project, but that doesn't mean I'm going to hire you for the next one, right? Like as opposed to Shirley Temple, who could work for like 10 films and like you're on contract to do it.
Or like Haley Mills was like a staple at the Disney Studios, like in the '60s. Like she was in everything, right?
And the flubber guy, right? Like the guy was in everything, right?
Absolutely.
So. And even Kurt Russell got his start, like working on a lot of Disney stuff. So the studio system has changed over the years, but now you also have a lot of smaller studios that are operating in very different ways. And it's almost more like my experience with the startup marketplace, which is sort of my day job, where they say things like, go out to independent investors, raise funds to make your movie, and then a studio or a distributor will step in and be like, oh, okay, cool, you did a really good job with that movie. How much did you spend on it? $5 million? Cool, we'll give you $4 million for it to put it on streaming. And you're like, wait a minute, I don't want $4 million to cost me $5 million. Pay me $6 million. And it's a whole negotiation process, right? But the studio is not involved in actually creating the product. It's actually buying the product to then distribute it in some way, right? So there's that kind of thing that's happening in the marketplace as well. So to answer your question, Tones, there's a couple different ways the marketplace can work. And I learned this a long time ago. Like, you kind of have to ask yourself, how much am I willing to be a cog in the machine that is these complex systems versus more independent routes? And then how do you bounce back and forth between the two? And I think, like, so for example, let's just say that you're like, I never want to direct anything. I only want to be a writer. Well, in current modern day Hollywood, it's very difficult. It's a very difficult process, right? Because in current modern day Hollywood, what you're basically saying then is, I have to write phenomenal scripts. Or more likely, I have to be connected to people who I might see at a party, and they might say like, oh, hey, we're going to do this new movie. And I go, oh, I would love to write that movie. In fact, I got a script that's very similar to the script that you probably need. Let me send it your way. And they go, oh, yeah, this is kind of cool. You know, like hire that person. Well, it's so basically, and Franklin Leonard, who is a screenwriting advocacy kind of guy, right? Franklin Leonard. He has done analyses to say it's harder to be a screenwriter in Hollywood, a paid operating screenwriter in Hollywood, than it is to be in the NBA or the NFL. Or it's the level of competition is so extreme that it's the percent chance that you would make it is less than sports. So it's crazy, right? So to answer your question more specifically, Tones, when you're doing these things independently, what you're saying is, I'm not going to go work for be a cog in the machine and just have them do whatever they want to do with me. Instead, what I'm going to do is, I have a vision for what it is, and I'm going to go figure out how to get it made. Right? It's like it's sort of like if you were like, if you take like a business example, let's just say that you can go work for a corporation and like climb the corporate ladder if you want to. That's like working the studio system. You start out like as a male person and you work your way up to a studio executive. Right? There's that. There's also like you could say, oh, I'm gonna create or invent something, and then I'm gonna go sell it to Walmart, and Walmart will put it in their stores, but they're just gonna pay me for it, and then I'm hands off. Or you could say, no, I'm gonna go compete with Walmart and make my own store, right? So independent filmmaking is like saying that, like, I'm gonna go compete with Walmart and make my own thing. And I forget Walmart, I'm not gonna sell to them or whatever you say, right? So in this case, now you're getting really deep into my strategic thinking about how I look at the industry. Okay. Now, I was talking to my friends about this, and I was even talking to my AD about this. Shout out to Josh Long, who I also would not have done as good of a job directing if it hadn't been for the AD. I was listening. Okay, so the anecdote before I fully answer your question. I'm on set, right? And the process for what's supposed to happen on set is as they're setting up the scene, right? So the lighting guys are going around and lighting it appropriately. Lucas is making sure that the camera is set up correctly and has the right lenses on it and is at the right focal point and all that kind of good stuff. As that's happening, I am going to talk to the actors. This is what you're doing in this scene. Here's how you're feeling in this scene. Tell me if you have any questions. Let's talk about it. As all that stuff is kind of unfolding, the AD is making sure that everyone's where they need to be. So like, oh, did they get out of hair and makeup? Okay, great. Bring them over here. Oh, they're not out of hair and makeup yet? Like, oh, we need 5 more minutes. Oh, I got to send a production assistant over because we're running out of fuel for the generators. Whatever. The AD is handling all that stuff. The AD is sort of like if you want to be a director, make sure you have a good AD, because if you don't have a good AD, you're screwed. Like, you have to handle all that stuff yourself, and now you're becoming more of a production kind of person. But the AD is amazing. So Josh Long is our AD. Josh Long is a writer. He's a director. He does a lot of things, and he was cool enough to be on this project for us. And I would have to ask him sometimes, like, I pull him aside and I go, so when you're getting set up to record, what's supposed to happen is sound is supposed to say sound rolling, and then video is supposed to say video set, right? Camera set. And then that gives the director the heads up, like everybody's ready to film this, right? But because you get really comfortable with each other and stuff like that, sometimes you forget to call those things out. So I'm like turning to Josh Long and I'm like, hey, Josh, when do I say action? Right? Like, and you would think the director would know that, right? But this is my first time doing it. So I'm like, because sometimes they wouldn't call out something and it would be like, hey, we're ready, dude. And I'd be like, oh, I didn't know. I thought you guys weren't ready. Yeah. So it's just things like that that were kind of fun to learn. But anyways, so what happens when you say you want to make it yourself? And interrupt me if you have a question about something that I've said, because I tell way too long of stories. But let's just say you say, okay, we're going to create an independent film. Now you need to start building out your team, and you need to work with a production company. So the Reclamation Society is the nonprofit that Nathan and I run, and it is a portion of the production process. We use it as like a fundraising arm, and then we also use it as a distribution arm and a co-production kind of arm. Well,
one thing real quick, Jay, before you go any further, I just want to bring this up before I lose my train of my thought.
Yeah.
One thing you talk a lot about, like your team and the team building,
Team's
huge. And you talk a lot about like individual members of that team, right? Like, was it Adam Long?
Josh
Long. I'm sorry, Josh Long, and what have you. I love that. I love that you are very, what's the word for it? It's the team with you. Like you never hesitate to give the team love and credit and the spotlight and the shout out. And I think that's so important in any creative process. And you have that down. And that's exactly how it should be. I mean, a lot of times in whether it be like Hollywood or in like content creation, people get into this kind of like ego thing, and it's like, and I love the fact that you're not about that. You do the team thing, and that's awesome. I just want to give you that shout out before I forgot.
And to elaborate on that, OG and I were never on set with you, and we still got credits in the movie.
That's
like
right.
that's how amazing that like you are about the team, and whoever's involved, you will definitely shout out.
Well, in order for you to do these things, right? Like, we sort of glorify. Culture wants to glorify like one person,
yeah.
But one person can only go so far. Like if you're like, oh, I'm gonna go on a journey, I'm gonna be one person doing it. You're only gonna get so far. You can go twice, 3 times, 4 times, 10 times as far as if you build a team, right? Mm-hmm. We all played Oregon Trail as kids. Like, you start losing people, you're not making it to Oregon, dude. You're not gonna make it. But yeah, so I think team is like of the utmost importance. And the reason why I call Lucas is because he's the other production arm. Like he's the one that brings in the gaffers and the grips, and he knows casting directors that he introduces us to. So the way that it'll work is like, basically Reclamation Society says, here's the project, let's go find a co-production company. Okay, it's Moai Films with Lucas. Now they're our co-production company, and they're bringing all this other stuff to the table for us to be able to do things together. And that's just like, that's basically how that functions. And then what you have to do then is one of the big questions everyone asks is like, okay, well, where does the money come from? Right. And that's the difficult part, because like Tone said, he's 100% right about this. I mean, if a short film has ever made money in the history of short films, it's because for some reason that short film was bought by like a distribution company for more than it cost to make it or something, right? Like, but that's like probably less likely than a feature film making money, which we all know is like very unusual. Mm-hmm. Somebody, a guy that I've met recently that lives up near me, just directed his first independent film. He's done other film, like short films and stuff, but this is a feature film. It was in theaters. And he was telling me that the same math for startups tends to be correct for movies, which is out of 10 movies, 8 of them lose money, 1 of them breaks even, and 1 of them makes enough money to cover the rest of the costs for all the other ones, right? So movies are not necessarily, just like startups, are oftentimes not... you can't guarantee anything with them. It's very rare for them to make a lot of money. And so his film broke even, which is awesome. It's like that's like a huge deal.
Now, for a lot of these films, like when you're up and coming with first time director or whatever the case may be, like you were saying, the short films are very hard to make your money back and all that. Impossible. But is it kind of more about like kind of almost like kind of getting that foot in the door? Yes. In the industry, where it's like, okay, I'm establishing myself. Yeah, it didn't make its money back, but this is a great product. And now, the studios might take notice and they might pick you up for something. Is that kind of what's going on there, probably first and foremost?
It is. So what you're doing is, so our production company, the Reclamation Society, we formed as a nonprofit because what we are trying to do in the marketplace is create properties that they're usually going to be geek oriented, which my definition of geek is like science fiction, fantasy. It's like superhero, comic book kind of adjacent, right? And that they are strongly attempting to go after truth and not propaganda, right? So we're not trying to like use this as a propaganda arm. We're trying to find what is the truth of this matter. Let's dig deeper into some kind of subject matter, just like the Story Geeks do. And so we formulated as a nonprofit because we felt like we could get donors to donate to us making those kinds of films. So we're a nonprofit, meaning, we don't make any money off of anything. We don't sell anything. We do sell books, but it's like, we make like less than $100 a year on books. And we're not trying to compete with profitable companies. We're just trying to make things. So the Reclamation Society does that. And that's how we got a lot of our money, is from people donating to us, right? So in the film cost, because everyone has this question, the film costs around $50K. I think probably a little bit over $50K. It's hard to keep track of expenses all the way through, but we basically the budget was $50K, and that means everything. You're paying for your locations. You're paying for your when I say Lucas is going to be my co-director. The Reclamation Society is not paying Jay, but we did pay Lucas, right? Like, because he's the DP, he's the director. We're paying him. We're paying the gaffers to show up. We're paying the actors. We're paying all of those folks. So we brought like $33K to the table of the 50, and then Lucas was like, "Well, I think it's a 4-day shoot. I like to budget for $10K a day, which is a lot of money, right? But and we knew it was going to be a 4-day shoot because." Josh Long, our AD, he broke it all down. Like, how many scenes can you shoot in a day? How much is it going to cost? What kind of people do you need? All that stuff. And so so we said we should bring in even more than 40 because we want to get some special things, like the location that we got, super expensive because it's an awesome location. It's used in big productions. The movie Identity from back in the day. I think it's 2001, 2003, somewhere in there. The movie Identity with John Cusack was filmed at the same place we filmed our film, right? So like
That's
it's expensive, and we tried to negotiate with the guy. We're like, hey, we're a nonprofit. He's like, I don't care. The guy did not care, dude. He was like, I'm not giving you any discounts. So to answer your question, Tones, your first step is to say, well, how much money do I have? And by the way, some filmmakers have no money, and they're borrowing cameras, and they're getting actors to shoot with them. They're not paying them, right? They're not going through SAG for contracts. We went through SAG for contracts. That's just the way that we wanted to do it. And SAG was actually really easy to work with. I have not always had that experience, and a lot of filmmakers will complain about it. I thought they were awesome. SAG was awesome when I was working with them this time around. The last time I worked with them, a little less awesome. It depends on the rep you get to a degree. The rep we had was amazing. She was really cool. Very easy to work with. So yeah, that's what you're doing. You're collaborating across the board, and you have to rely upon other people to see your vision and want to contribute to it as opposed to fight you on it.
That's what I was going to ask as well. There has to be some kind of you guys have to have the same kind of vision or see where it's supposed to be going and come to an agreement on that's where it should end or that's where it should go, because otherwise you guys are either going to be fighting, one person's not going to like it, one person's not, or going to like it, the other one's not. So it's definitely, that's very important as well.
Well, and that's what could be a definite concern going into working with a co-director, right? Because Lucas is an opinionated guy. Lucas is the kind of guy who, if you're not doing something that he thinks you should be doing, like he's gonna tell you. He's the nicest guy. So most of the people in Hollywood, not most of the people, there's a good chunk of Hollywood who makes it big because let's just talk about how Hollywood works, right? Hollywood works in that there's a bunch of money going around to make these things that everybody on the planet would love to be a part of making, right? Yep. And so the way that things tend to get done is, imagine any scenario where money is flowing. You can be underhanded to trying to make money. You can be a backstabber to try and make money, or you can operate like a really solid business person, like any business person would act in any business place, and you can be a solid person that way. But there's sometimes when you're incentivized to be like, well, I'm gonna like step on the toes of this other person because it'll mean more for my career or whatever. So like when I say that a lot of people, even some really famous directors, you'll hear them talk about, you'll hear actors talk about working with them, and they'll be like, no, you're doing it wrong. It needs to be like this. And you're like, but that actor, you just paid $20 million to tell them exactly what to do. Like, that's crazy. Like, it's like micromanaging some, like if you were at your work and your boss is like, no, do it the way I want you to do it. Don't do it a way that actually would, be maybe even better. So I'm not criticizing that. It's just not my style, right? Like I'm not that kind. I want to collaborate with you. I want to set the vision for what we're trying to accomplish, and I want to see us all come together around that vision. And the cool thing about Lucas is that what you want then is you want people to be direct. You want them to have a shared vision, and you want them to call out when things are not as good as they could be. You want that because why wouldn't you, right? Like, you don't want somebody to be like, by the way, this totally sucks, but let's just go ahead and do it because the director told me to. You know what I mean? Like, that's stupid. Tell me that it's dumb. And if you have a better suggestion, I'll probably take it,
And you can also tell the difference in films nowadays, that you can see the difference between when the whole production company is into this movie and wants it to succeed than a movie where they're just there to work and, okay, I'm getting a check at the end of this movie and I'm not going to tell the director my opinion. It's like you could see the differences in film, especially when you see, like, I was just watching The Last of Us. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
Oh yeah.
The Last of Us episode 8, there was it was the episode before the season finale. There's an episode where there's a production crew in the background in one of the scenes.
Yeah.
And like you could tell, or in my opinion, at least the way it looked, besides some of the acting, it just looked like they just had to be there because they were receiving a check. They were there for a job. And how did that get past so many people who saw that scene being shot? Like, how does that, and as a fan and as someone who loves TV shows, it just seems like, okay, it doesn't look like you love this as much as you thought, or we thought you did, because you're leaving this and even the Game of Thrones thing, the coffee cups that were in there, the water bottles. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Well,
And real quick, I also want to touch upon this real quick, Jay. Is it like you mentioned, like everyone has to be on the same page with the vision, but they also have to add their own flavor to the pot, right? You can't just, so it's wild to me. It's almost like this kind of like this miracle, like, like how these processes, whether it be like, like The Little Mermaid, for example, with Ron Clements and what's the dude's name? John Musker, right? They directed The Little Mermaid, right?
Yep.
These two men have to be on the same page, but they got to feed off each other creatively. They got to agree and disagree, because the pushback is good. But when I say it's like almost a miracle that when these films come out and they get made, it's because that's a difficult thing to kind of do, right? Where you have two people with two very different opinions working on the same project, trying to get things to gel.
Yeah.
And I respect that like crazy, because it's not an easy process to do that. You know what I'm saying?
No, it can be very, very difficult. And it's also very, very complex, right? Like, even to your point, Tones, like where people seem like they don't care. I would say that there are definitely films. I've seen 2 films recently that cost a lot of money to make, and I'm like, it doesn't feel like anybody gave a shit about this, like their role in this. But I do think that like the Last of Us and the Starbucks cups in Game of Thrones. The other thing that happens is, okay, this is the kind of scenario that you will find yourself in. Union regulations are crazy, and they have to be, because filmmakers have abused the process in the past, right? So it's like, no, we're going to keep working 24 hours because we got to finish these shoots. So I don't care how tired you are. You're going to act some more, No. Actors work 8 hours. Any more than 8 hours, they're getting overtime, right? Like, you got to pay them more money. So like you have all of these constraints, and you go to the film set, and then things don't go as you plan them to, right? And so what happens is things start to get rushed, things start to go faster. Your budget is being spent at an ever increasing rate. You're having to spend more money because something's not there, and you have to go buy it, and that's taking you over budget. So I will say that while there are a lot of movies that it's like everyone just wants a paycheck and they don't really care, there are also movies where everyone really does care, but you're just running behind and you're tired and you're trying to get everything done and you're just not quite able to get there. So I have a little bit of grace. Like, for example, let's just say that Emilia Clarke was like drinking a Starbucks, and she's like, "Oh, I gotta put this down," and puts it down and doesn't realize that it's on camera, right? Like, she doesn't know if it's on camera or not on camera.
Right.
She thinks she's putting it somewhere where it's not on camera, and nobody notices it. It's
and now that Starbucks cup is canon, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
In Solo.
Yeah, and just think about it this way, like the setup of that scene might have taken the team 4 hours. Yeah. And they're like honing in on, like, is that lighting correct? Like, I gotta make sure that lighting's correct. Okay, that lighting's perfect right now. Are we good to roll? We're good to roll. And it's like, well, no, somebody forgot about the Starbucks cup. They didn't see it. So there's things like that are also happening that I would say it's a little, it can be a little bit of, and we encountered what I would call some people. No, not some people. We encountered, I think, one person who. So let me describe how this process goes too. I bring in Lucas. Lucas brings in a bunch of other people. Every single person that Lucas brings in has to be brought into the vision. He's negotiating their contracts. I wasn't negotiating contracts at that point. I was negotiating actor contracts, but I wasn't negotiating the grips and the production design and the casting director. I didn't negotiate those contracts. That was through Lucas. So you might have a person that comes on that's like, yeah, I agree to do this job, but Lucas is not paying me enough money. I'm not suggesting this happened. I'm just saying this could happen. So like, I'm kind of bitter about it. And I'm just kind of half-assing it, right? Like you could get that because people are kind of bitter. Again, this is a working job.
Yeah, it's a job. Yeah,
it's a job for some people. It's not like, especially people who do this all the time, right? They with a bunch of movies that they think like these movies are absolute dog shit, but I got hired, so I'm doing it, right? The difference with our shoot was, I think that's because when Nathan and I did the script, the experience is so personal to us that it's almost like it was easy for me to communicate the vision for two reasons. One, the script I feel like was really solid because it had come from a shared human experience that Nathan and I were exploring, that when they read it, they were like, oh, this is saying something, and I want to be a part of this thing that's saying something. The second thing that I think sold people on it was like how much it meant to us, right?
Yeah.
So pretty soon it's like, well, if this means a lot to Jay, I'm letting Jay down by not. It's not like I'm letting some big production company down. Like that's the guy I'm letting down. He's right there, right? Like
100%.
And so, and as other people started to see, we had one person that I would say in pre-production, I think felt rushed. I think was a little bit trying to negotiate contract stuff. And they started out being kind of like half-assing it. And then as soon as they started seeing how much everyone else cared about it, they were like, oh, this is actually something cool and I should care about this. And then they were like almost like over the top caring about it afterwards. So you do need to have that, I think. I mean, when we did our Star Wars short film, which I didn't direct, I just wrote it, co-wrote it with Nathan, and then produced it. It was the same thing. It was like, I just want to make Star Wars stuff. People were showing up being like, I want to make Star Wars stuff, and this is a cool story, so I want to make it with you guys. And so if you can get people to say, like, here's this shared human experience that we're talking about, and it means something, and it matters, as opposed to these, like, giant, big-budget Hollywood movies that, like, don't have any heart to them, and they're only making it because it's like the fifth one in the series, and like everybody stopped caring about it. Like that's not true of like Tom Cruise and like Mission Impossible 25. He still cares, right? Like that guy cares. But it is true about a lot of things. Is like they become paydays for people, and that just isn't. It's just not very fun.
We're like early Disney. There was a lot of that, there was a lot of that, like with Walt Disney, right?
Yeah.
Like the Sherman Brothers and all these creatives, they wanted to do it for Walt, kind of like we want to do our best because this guy, he thinks I can do better. I want to prove this guy right. Like he was very influential in pushing people beyond what they even think they could do. You know what I'm saying? And it was all about kind of doing it for Walt, and it shows in the products. When there's that kind of collaboration like that, and you're doing it for like. It's like a passion project almost, right? And you're doing it it's not just the payday. It's, it shows on camera 100%,
Yeah. And a lot of things don't go the way, a lot of things do go the way that you thought it was going to go in your head as a director. Some things don't go the way that you thought they were going to go as a director. And you go, well, okay, so that person's bringing their creativity. And then you have to ask yourself some questions too. Like how far can I push this person versus how can I give them enough insights that this is really good without being like exceptional, and maybe really good's all I can get, and that's cool, right? Like, and then you just have to put up with that. You just have to go like, okay, that's what I'm getting. So then you might say to yourself, well, I'm going to de-emphasize this because I don't think it's as cool as it could be, or I'm going to emphasize this because it's actually awesome, right? Like, there's these little decisions you're making kind of as you go through, but it all starts to me with the script, and if you can see the script in your mind, then I think that the directing piece is a lot easier. Because if you can see it in your mind, then it's a matter of can I execute what's in my head, and I can imagine the Mona Lisa. I can't paint the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
So now you're getting all these other people, like who's going to bring the paint, who's going to be the one that does the brush strokes, who's going to be the one that comes in and does like lighting with it. And maybe it's not exactly what you saw in your head, but it's real close, right?
Well, that's the beauty of it too. We're like you were talking. We did the Q&A in Orange County back in December, right?
Oh yeah.
And it was awesome. And you were talking about that, how you had this vision for the film and the script and all that. And as the talent came in, they put their fingerprint and their flavor into it and changed the film too. And that's a beautiful thing, right? It's something that you can't really predict.
Yeah.
The final product is kind of like, to some degree unpredictable because these actors and actresses and they put their own little spins on things. And like Colleen did an amazing job with her character and like all that kind of stuff, right? So it's kind of cool. I like that.
I remember you were saying when we first talked to you and the crew, the guy who was playing, I think one of the workers, you initially didn't write the character to be funny, but he kind of made that was awesome because he put his own little flair to it.
Yeah, the
Exactly.
character in the script. So Spencer Harrison Levin plays Stoner Ryan, and the character in the script is like humorous, but not like like improv laughing, like I like gut laughing. Like it's just kind of humorous, right?
Yeah.
And here's a good story. So we Spencer was one of the ones we got from Kara. Kara Sullivan is our casting director.
And she's awesome, by the way. I met her at the thing.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She's great.
Kara is like, I was teasing her about this. I'm like, are you like from like Chicago or New York? Because you have this like little like I'm gonna go get him kind of like tenacity.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
I
But
love that.
so she does not take any shit, man. If an actor
tough.
like didn't read her email fully, she's like, "What's your problem? Like, this is what the instructions are." That's pretty funny because you have to realize she's dealing with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. She can't field dumb questions. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
this is the way it works. And she's not mean about it. She's just direct. And very good to work with because she manages a lot of things and smooths things over, and it's like she's great. So we looked at auditions for Stoner Ryan, and I actually had a guy that was awesome that I wanted to bring into the project, and he actually looked more 70s appropriate than even Spencer did. But it was like we had to get him, like we had to pay for travel for him because he doesn't live in California, so we had to kind of like do all this kind of stuff. So we were doing auditions as a part of this, and I did not put Spencer in my top 3. Like that's the process we do. I'd ask Lucas like, here's like 8 of them. So I would watch all the audition tapes with Nathan. Usually I would watch them. Nathan would sometimes watch them, and then I would go, here's my top 8 or whatever, right? And so Kara had put Spencer in the top. And I hadn't put Spencer in the top. Or maybe he was in my top 8, but he wasn't in my top 3. But Lucas and Nathan both said, like, dude, like, Spencer's pretty good. So the next round of auditions was Zoom live. So here's the script. Like, you do it. Let me throw you another idea. Boom, do this instead. Like, do that instead. And Spencer just, like, nailed it. You know what I mean? Like, he just nailed it. And he's done a bunch of commercials. He did an Apple commercial. He was in a commercial with Tom Brady. I think was one of his commercials for like I think it was Doritos or something. So he's done some pretty legit stuff. And the guy is just funny, dude. Like he's just really, really funny. And so I was just kind of like, yeah, man, if you have like you embody the character, go ahead. So he's funnier than he was in the script because Spencer is funnier than the character that I wrote. You know what I mean? So, and all of them add to it in some way, shape, or form. They all add to it. Like Kirk wrote a backstory. Kirk told me, I know what my character does right after this film ends. Phil wrote a backstory. Colleen added a bunch of stuff from her experience that she added to the film. Every single person showed up and like they either understood the assignment or they had put stuff on top of the assignment to be able to do their job better. And you don't get that unless you convince them that it's worth their time and energy to do it because it matters, right?
Yeah.
100%. I actually, real funny story. I'm gonna kind of go on a little bit of a tangent here, but it's kind of related. I actually had a little bit of a Stoner Ryan at Whole Foods yesterday. I was in line checking out, and this guy, the guy ringing me up, the Whole Foods guy ringing me up. Hey, he's like, hey, bro. I'm like, hey, man. A real nice guy though, you know, no problems there. But he's like, hey, man, what you doing after this? You going to any ragers or anything like that? I'm like, no, actually, I'm gonna go home and probably just do a podcast. No biggie. He's like, oh, that's cool, man. That's cool. He's like, I'm gonna go home after this, man. I'm gonna go smoke some marijuana. He goes, medicinal, of course. This guy was fantastic, man. He was. I think he was high at work, but he was great customer service though. He was awesome.
All good characters come from real life experiences.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
AJ, I wanted to ask you, kind of go back to the beginning where you were when you were talking about the script, and you said that this is technically a prequel. What made you go with that idea of like, hey, I want to make this a prequel, and like, where did your mind go when you decided that? Because it is more common from what I heard that people do a story, and if they wanted to make it bigger, they would expand that story. But you decided to do a prequel instead. What was your mindset around making that decision?
So, two reasons. One, the feature film includes the character that is the main character of the short film, but only in flashbacks. And so your mind automatically, when you're writing something, starts filling in the spaces about why would this be happening? Why is this occurring the way that it is? And so I almost had a backstory. And then the question then was, here's the question that a proof of concept needs to answer. How does this prove that I can do this at a larger scale? Like, that's what you have to prove, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to spend $50K because I want to prove to you that I could, if you give me 5 million, I could make something that's awesome, right? And so how do you showcase that to somebody? Well, in our case, and in my case, the reason why I wrote it as a prequel, one was just for creative, to be fun, because I didn't want to just film scenes from the feature, but also because I already had a backstory for this character that I wanted to do, and I could include. I was telling somebody the other day, there's only two special effects in the feature that are not in the prequel. Everything else, if you read both scripts, you're like, oh yeah, this is like almost could be one continuous story if you wanted it to be. Like, it feels the theme is the same. Some of the banter that goes back and forth between the characters is similar. Like, it's all built. It all takes place at a motel. It's just a different motel, right? Like, all of the things that we did were basically to showcase to people like, no. Like, if you give us 5 million, we'll just make this type of film that people really resonate with, but bigger, that you could release in theaters. That's all we're saying is like, this is our prototype. Give us more money. We make a bigger thing. We go back to our investors and go, look, everybody makes more money if we do this, right? That's what we're trying to accomplish. And so that's why we did it sort of like as a prequel, because it was so similar in so many different ways, right? It's about blackmail. It's about shame and guilt. It is about one character's blackmailing other characters to try to manipulate them to do things that they don't want to do. All of those things are present in the short and present in the feature. So it was like, oh yeah, this is, for me, it was like, just made sense, you know?
100%. Now, Jay, I have a question for you. So you guys spent, I mean, this is like blood, sweat, and tears, right? To do these projects. It's a massive undertaking, you know?
It's crazy.
And like you were saying, it's a huge team effort, and there's a lot of work that goes into this, right? Yeah. So the film is done, right? And now you're going to hit the festival circuit.
Yeah.
Well, like, what's your mindset going into that? Because now it's like you have this thing where you created it and you put all that heart, all that TLC, all that love into that thing with your team, and now it's going to kind of get released out into the wild. Like, what was going through your mind going into that festival circuit?
Well, okay.
Because wait, real quick, because you also have to think about which circuit you put it in as well. Because when we were talking, you had said, you know, some of these you have to pay to even get into the circuit.
Oh, right.
Some of those you don't really want to pay for as well. So you don't want to just throw it out there into any circuit.
Well, okay, so this is where things get really fascinating, and this is where things come in that you can't plan, that end up being major blessings, even though it wasn't in your plan to do it, right? You know, and I don't want to make it overly spiritual, but like the joke is that like, show God your plans and watch him laugh, right? Like, so there's, whether you just believe in fate, or whether you believe in luck, or whether you believe in a God who oversees things, there are certain things that you get fortunate, blessed, or lucky, right? Whatever term you want to put to that, something happens where you're like, wow, we didn't plan that, but it's actually awesome.
Yeah.
So here's what happened with us. One of the things that we did that was really unique and creative is, and this is a Lucas thing, is that Lucas had started a company with a guy named Armando Ferreira. And Armando is, you can go watch Armando's channel. He does camera reviews and stuff. And they wanted to fund films by bringing in sponsors who would say like, okay, we're going to use like the lenses that we use. We use IRIX lenses. And IRIX lenses, we would have all of these behind the scenes YouTubers on our set helping us make the movie, by the way. They're doing the lighting, they're doing like the gaffing, they're doing like all the things, right? And they are filming behind the scenes footage saying, this is the lens we're using from IRIX, and it's awesome. It's an awesome lens for these reasons. Well, IRIX pays the influencer and then also gives us money to make the movie. So we're both getting paid, right? So I'm telling you this story because Wait, remind me what the question. Remind me what the question is, because I'm telling you the story for a
So
reason.
the circuit, the
the circuit. Yeah, sorry. So the reason, so we were going to release this thing on YouTube ASAP because of all the YouTubers, and they were all going to point to it, and we were going to try and get as many views as we possibly could, right? And it just so happened that the film got delayed because tragically, one of, I won't say who, just because I don't know, I don't have permission to talk about it, but one of our collaborators' moms passed away right after the filming of No Vacancy, and so we put the trailer out, but we didn't put the film out. And I called up Lucas and I said, Lucas, I'm watching the films that are making it big on YouTube right now. And you and I talked about one of them, Tones, because we talked about the Wolverine Viking movie, right?
Yeah.
And I said, Lucas, the problem with the films on YouTube right now is that they tend to be really short. They tend to be like 5 minutes, 10 minutes max. They tend to be like just an action sequence. And those are the ones that are like getting millions of views. Like the ones that are like more story driven, quieter, like they're not doing as many views. Every once in a while you'll get one that does. Our friend Luke Barnett's short, which is amazing,
oh my God,
like blew
yes.
up. Yeah, it's amazing.
Amazing.
So like there are a few that do that, but I mean his got picked up. He got mentioned in Deadline. I mean his like,
wow.
and I think Variety too.
Yep.
His is amazing. But I was like, Lucas, it's not like we're gonna get the kind of attention that I think we want for a proof of concept. Because the proof of concept, I'm not saying that the fans wouldn't love it, but it is not made for the fans particularly, right? It's made for the producers who go, yeah, let's go produce the feature, right? And I said, I think this film is more of like it's like a general audience film that functions as an art house film. And if we put it in the art house film marketplace, I think more people will gravitate toward it and go like, because if you haven't seen No Vacancy, you can if you become a member of OG55. But if you haven't seen it, it's not a traditional Hollywood leave the theater happy ending. It's very much like something you have to wrestle with kind of ending, right? And so that doesn't play as well on. I think it will play well on YouTube eventually when it comes out, but it just doesn't get the kind of like Wolverine's fighting people energy that like 12-year-olds and 15-year-olds want going into a movie, right? And YouTube is a lot of young people. So I said to Lucas, I think this will play better on the festival circuit, and I think it will get us introduced to more of the people that we want to talk to be able to make the film. And he was like, I think you're right about that. Like, let's go ahead and like, we'll leave the trailer there. We won't run it on YouTube yet. We'll put it on YouTube later once it's done with the festival circuit. The festival circuit does not want it on YouTube. Because
that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
And if you would have put it out on YouTube, it would have diluted
we would have gotten into like a tenth of the festivals that we got into. Yeah,
exactly.
Wow.
Because you can imagine, like, if it's just visible on YouTube, then they don't pay tickets to go see it at the festivals, right? So we chose to do the festival circuit, and the festival circuit has been a huge benefit to us. It's done really, really well in the festival circuit. And that has been its own, like, really unique, interesting process in and of itself, right?
Oh, I hosted the Q&A and at the OC one, and on December, I think it was like December 7th, right?
Yeah.
A few months back. And I mean, it was incredible. Like the questions from the audience, I mean, blew me away. I mean, crazy. I mean, that's a great Q&A. We had a lot of fun, but I mean, it was really, I think you made the right decision, Jay, when you said you put it in on the arts side of things, because just that one that I was there and witnessed, you could tell by the caliber of the questions and how, you know what I'm saying? It just, they really resonated. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And that's happened at like every single, I mean, like, so okay. It's been all over the world, right? Like there's still a few more countries that it's going to be.
That's so weird to say.
Isn't that wild?
It's super weird.
Well, real quick, what kind, like, where have you been? Like, where has this movie?
Yeah, almost every corner of the United States. So it's been in several in California. It's been in a couple in New York. It has been in, let me hang on one second. I'll tell you a little bit more because I can bring up where it's actually been in 1 second here. So it's been to There's one in England that's going to. There's Arizona. It's been to. It's been on some internet festivals that don't display the film publicly. They just do it So it's been involved in some of those. It will be in Portugal. It has been in France. Technically, they didn't screen it in France. We just had the awards in France, but still. It has been in Florida. It has been where is this one? I don't know where this one is. Oh, I thought that one hasn't reported yet.
Real quick, do you happen to have the listing of the awards that this movie has made or has won?
Yes.
Would you be able to name that after you're done telling us?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Excellent.
So it's been mostly in the United States, but then like ping-ponging around some of the world too. There's a lot of festivals. So when you're submitting to festivals, and actually Luke Barnett shout out to Luke Barnett, because I had a conversation with him, and he was like, man, festivals are like rough because everyone thinks that like they're gonna go show their film at a festival and it's gonna get all these laurels are what you get. Like, you say like, oh, it's like Cannes Film Festival selection. There's these laurels that it just says Cannes Film Festival. Everyone thinks that like, oh, you're gonna get a bunch of laurels and all these producers are gonna show up at your doorstep and be like, hey, like let's make a film. It's not really how it works. However, the reason why I chose to do it and go, so I had two filmmakers who I really appreciate. The other one is Chris Easterly, who made his own independent film, which is awesome. You guys can go watch it. What is the name of his film? Why am I forgetting it off the top of my head? I'll figure it out. But go search for Chris Easterly on IMDb and look at the latest film he made himself, which is just a really achievement that he was able to do that. He made it out in. I think he made it in Kansas or Kentucky. I think he made it in Kentucky. One of the two. He made it, and he did an awesome job.
Is the movie called the Norwalk Witness?
No.
Devil's Hollow?
Devil's Hollow. That's it. Devil's Hollow. Awesome film. Go watch it. I think you can rent it on Amazon. It's really cool. And Chris Easterly is like a friend of mine. And so is Luke Barnett. So why am I saying all this? Chris Easterly would tell you, don't make a film that's over 10 minutes. Why? Because when the festivals are putting their programming together, they block. So you'll take a theater, right? And the theater is usually blocked in like 2.5 hour increments for movies, right? All of the movies we go see are usually like 2.5 hours, unless it's Martin Scorsese and he wants you to sit for 4 hours and 50 minutes or whatever. But because of that, they'll screen like 4 or 5 short films inside that block, right? Well, if my film is 21 minutes and your film is 5 minutes, it's a lot easier to fit your film into the block than it is to fit my film into the block, point. Right? So Chris Easterly would tell you, like, don't make a 10-minute short film because you're less likely to get into festivals. Yeah. Luke Barnett would also tell you that unless you get into certain festivals, you're probably not going to like get any like a production. Like you get into Tribeca, you get into Toronto, you get into Cannes, you get into Sundance, like boom, you're like, forget it. Like you'll have people beating down your door to say like, hey, well, let's make a movie together. You got into one of these festivals. Those festivals are super, super political. So the chance of you getting into those festivals is so astronomically small.
So when you say political, you mean like Hollywood politics?
Yeah,
Inside baseball kind of stuff.
Which I can explain. I can explain how that kind of works and why it works the way that it does. And you know, I'm not suggesting that it means that they're entirely 100% political, but you know, 90%. Yeah. It's a lot. Oh, yeah. So Luke Barnett was kind of like, I don't even know if the film festival circuit's worth it to you, right? And I believe them when both of them told me that. I believe them. I chose not to do that because I had a different strategy in mind than what they were referring to, right?
Okay.
So the strategy in my mind was, if I'm a producer and I look at you, I'm going to judge you based on what is your resume, why should I actually pay attention to your project, and what's the point of me? There's a billion other people trying to pitch me on projects. Why should I listen to you, right? Well, my thought process was, I'm not going to do a 10-minute film because it's very difficult to tell a 3-act beginning, middle, and end narrative in 10 minutes. It's almost impossible. You almost have to do like more like a vignette. So what you're not able to prove to a producer or an audience is you're not able to prove that if given more money, you could have this bigger narrative that characters get character arcs and everything works, right? Like this is why a lot of those films that blow up on YouTube, nothing happens after that. They just blow up on YouTube and then nobody gets hired for jobs. People don't get, and the reason for that is because in order for you to sell a feature film, you need to engage an audience for 2 hours of their lives. And then they have to go like, that was worth the price of a ticket. So it's very difficult to prove that with a very, very short film that you can handle that kind of narrative arc. And I wanted to prove that we could handle that kind of narrative arc. And I said, I think we can do it in like 20 minutes. So let's do it in 20 minutes.
So you were basically, you were willing to sacrifice the ability to be seen in more venues with the longer runtime.
That's exactly it.
Just to tell the better story, basically.
Exactly
what you're saying.
Yep. And that I had learned from Martin McDonough, who's like 3 billboards outside Billings, Mississippi, or whatever it is, and also in Bruges. He had a 20-minute short film that they hired him after and said we want you to what features can you pitch us, because obviously you can tell a narrative. So I'd seen that happen, so I wanted to do a longer film because of that. And then I wanted to put it in the festival circuit because even though I totally believe what Luke Barnett says, and I agree with him, I also don't have any kind of credentials in Hollywood. I show up and go, by the way, I write scripts. They go, yeah, so does everybody else in LA. Good luck, right? And so I was like, okay, well, I feel like this is a film that will do well in the festival circuit. It will get into festivals. I had no idea it was going to win awards, by the way. That was not in my brain function, was not getting there. But if it gets into festivals, and then I can go say to somebody, I can go say to a producer, I'd like for you to take a look at this because it's been in these festivals, it's won these awards. And now they go, okay, well, I'll take that meeting over the meeting that didn't win any awards.
Exactly.
And so that was so it's not that the advice from Chris and the advice from Luke were bad. It's actually great advice. It's just advice I was strategically thinking about in a different way about how I was going about what I was doing.
You're willing to take that risk to do it the way.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, because let's. I kind of want to get into the directing award you just won. I mean, for one, like you said, this was something that you were never anticipating at all, but it ends up happening. And you when you went into putting the movie out, did you think that award was even up for debate, or did you think that just putting the movie out, it was just gonna put more focus on the film?
Okay, so this is another area where I try to be really, really strategic about. So some people are really good about Maya, who did an interview with me up here in Fort Collins when we premiered in Fort Collins. We were talking, and she was telling me that she's very intuitive, right? She's will be in a room with people and be like, oh, I intuit that they are a really good person to work with. I'm not as good at that. I'm more of prove to me or show me in some way, shape, or form, the evidence that you would be good to work with, right? And I took that kind of approach. Both approaches. I kind of want to be more like Maya and learn how to do that a little bit better, but it's not second nature to me.
So she's kind of Maya's kind of doing the vibes thing.
Yes.
And not to sound toxic or whatever, but women are good at that. They have that intuition to kind of.
There's a reason why they say women's intuition. There's a reason that they say that, right?
100%.
And so I really respect that, but I am not that way. I am more of what I'll do is I will watch you guys when you watch the movie, and I'll go, what did you like, right? And you'll say oh, I like this, and I like that, and I'll go, interesting, they liked that. Okay, great. So I might do something like this. When you're filling out the oh, we want to be a part of this award show, you go in and you say I want it to be up for these different awards, right? And I had been told so many times that the cinematography was amazing, so I would be like, yeah, put Lucas Colombo in for cinematography, right? Like I would click that box, and you're kind of trying to play this game of like I can't spend that much money because every category is another cost, right? Because when you go into
that's interesting.
Yeah, when you go into a film festival, and by the way, the Oscars works like this, right? Like, I don't know if you guys know this. This is a really interesting story. If you don't listen to The Town with Matt Bellany,
so
you
good, bro.
Have you guys seen The Studio, by the way, on HBO?
I want to so bad. I haven't got to yet.
Drop everything you're doing and go watch The Studio. Okay. It's not only is it hilarious, it explains how this stuff works really well. And there's a running joke that Matt Bellany is like the guy that you have to impress. If you don't impress him, like he's going to come out with his podcast and say something negative. It's so funny. It's like, and the fact that Alia turned me on to that podcast, I will forever be grateful for Alia.
We love Alia, and you know the funniest thing too about the Matt Bellany stuff is he does a lot of coverage on like the Disney CEO succession.
He does,
and watch him be like the white knight, and he ends up getting the job.
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
I would love.
But
that.
They actually have him in the studio. Like he's a character in the studio. It's just amazing.
That's great.
What was your question, Tones? Because how does it work?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was going to explain how the Oscars works really quickly, just to give you. Matt Bellany interviewed. I think it's A20. No, I think it's whichever distributor distributed Anora, whatever production company worked on Anora. It was either A24 or Neon.
Yeah,
was it Neon?
Neon?
Okay.
Yeah,
one of the two. That movie cost $6 million to make. It's a low budget movie. It won the Oscar. I highly recommend it to people. It's very adult, but it's really funny and and it's really well done.
It's about sex work, if I'm not mistaken.
It's
roughly, yeah.
They tell you that it's not about that. What it's about is it's about a character who has aspirations that, when those aspirations are subverted, it kind of crushes her worldview. Okay. But they'll tell you it's about the other things, so you go like, "Oh, okay, I'll go watch it." Right? Right. But it's really well done. I mean, shout out to Sean Baker. It's a fantastic film.
Yeah,
it cost $6 million to make. Guess how much Neon or A24? You said it was Neon, right? Tones?
Neon, yeah.
Guess how much Neon paid for its Oscar campaign?
Oh no, probably the same.
$20 million.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Makes
So
sense.
okay. So why would someone do that? Let's break this down about why someone would do that, and then to answer your question specifically, Tones, you would do that because there's a dollar figure associated with that money. So people would go like, "What? You're paying $20 million so it gets an Oscar?" Because you have to create an Oscar campaign. You have to let all the Oscar voters know that movie exists and that these are the categories that that you're hoping it gets nominated for. And then they go, "Oh, I guess I will watch Anora," and go, "Oh, wow, Mikey Madison is really great. We should nominate her for an award." Like, so it's a business proposition. Now, why is it a business proposition? Because if it wins the Oscar, Jay Sherer goes and watches it.
Yep.
And pays for it on the service that he. So
a lot of people heard about Anora because it won the awards, right?
Yes.
You know,
I'm one of them.
Yeah,
exactly.
So to say like, "Oh wow, that sucks," is like, yeah, it sucks from an artist creative perspective, but it's good business. It's smart business, right? And so the same thing is true at a much smaller scale for these film festivals, right? You go in and you select, like, I think that the film would do really well in these categories, and you have to pay for each category. Now, it's not a lot of money. I mean, it's usually like, maybe it's like, for a less expensive festival, it might be like $15. In a lot of festivals, if you start to get your film starts to get attention like ours did, they'll offer you discounts. They'll be like, "Hey, submit your film and we'll take like 40% off." I've had some festivals say, "Submit to our festival, we'll give you it free submission, like submit for all the categories."
Wow.
So it depends on like how much that film would benefit them to showcase at their festival, right? Like it just kind of depends. So I am thinking to myself, okay, what did Tones like about this film? What did Christopher like about this film? OG like about this film? What did George like about this film? What did the people who, when we did the screening, what did they bring up about this film? And how can I go in and so I know, for example, that people go, "Lee Larson mattered to me." Stoner Ryan was really funny. This felt like a thriller. So I don't go in and I don't put like, or this felt like neo-noir. Okay, I put it in the neo-noir crime category. I put it in the thriller category. I don't put it as often in horror because it's not quite horror. So I'm probably not likely to win in the horror category, right? So my point in all of this is that I try to listen to what people are saying and then choose my categories strategically. With the Red Movie Awards, it was actually, it's been kind of a confusing situation. I had to send them multiple emails explaining. I was like, because they kept saying that it was.
By the way, they're a big company, right? Like they're one of the biggest festivals you put this movie in, or no?
They're a really, really cool festival. It is one of the biggest festivals that we've been a part of. Okay. They spend a lot of money on it. I don't know how big their company is in particular, but it's really cool. So a lot of them have like an emerging director category or a first-time director category, and I was kind of shying away from that because Lucas is a co-director on the film, right? And so Lucas is not a first-time director, so I can't say like, oh, Lucas is a first-time director and Jay is a first-time director. No, Lucas is not a first-time director. He's directed other stuff before. So I don't want to be unfair to the awards, right?
You're so nice, Jay.
Well, I mean, it's just okay. So I feel about it this way. I feel like so I've been playing a bunch of Fortnite lately, right? And
really? Okay.
Yeah. For whatever reason, I'm playing. Well, because I have a back problem, so I have to I can't do much. I have to sit and ice my back, right? So I'm just playing Fortnite. Cheating to me is like an anathema, dude. I'm like, if you suck. You suck, bro. Get better. Don't cheat. Like, right? Like,
well, that's why I can't stand when I hear people buy subscribers. Why?
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. It's the same thing.
Earn it. You know what I'm saying?
You got to earn it, right? So for me, like, I don't want to be perceived as like I'm gaming the system or cheating the system. Like, I want to play fair because I don't want to win because I gamed the system. Like, that's not a win. I didn't win. I tricked people into giving me something.
Exactly.
That to me is like, for whatever reason, I can't stand that. So I just want to be really upfront. So I had clicked that one for first-time director, even though I wasn't submitting to a lot of first-time director categories, because I was like, oh, don't have to explain it to them, right? I don't want them to like to think that it was that I was trying to be underhanded about it or anything. So I actually wrote to the Red Movie Awards and I was like, hey, just so you know, because they kept saying Jay Sherer and Nathan Sheck, and I'm like, well, no, it's not Nathan, and he wasn't a director, and it's not Lucas because he's not a first-time director. Like, literally, it's only me. Like, I'm not trying to get all the attention for myself. I just don't want it to be unfair, or like there'd be a misperception of what's going on here, because I don't want to win anything that that people don't think I deserve, right?
Absolutely.
And so I did click first-time director for that one though, because I was like, yeah, I mean, I directed the film. I am a first-time director. It was, I felt like it was fair. And so I did submit it for that one for first-time director. And then lo and behold, they gave us the award for the summer, which then qualifies you. It doesn't guarantee you the annual award. It just qualifies you to be put in the annual award. Then they put me in the annual award category, even after I sent them an email going like, just so you know, like this is how it is. It's like, and then they selected me for that one, so that was amazing. But we've won best ensemble. We've won. Colleen has won best actress. We have won sound editing and editing and sound design. We have won. I will say the craziest thing to me is that we have not won for cinematography, and that's one of the highest strengths of the film.
Really?
Yeah, which is insane.
That's surprising.
It's kind of like I haven't seen all of the competition that we're up against, but I'm like, to say that the cinematography is not like in the upper echelon of all short films ever made is to me crazy, because that's how much I love Lucas, right? Like, and not just because I love Lucas, but because of like what Lucas puts on screen to me is gorgeous. Yeah.
Like I don't know Lucas, right?
Yeah.
And the first thing I said to you when I watched your short film, the No Vacancy, that was the one thing that really stood out initially. Like, wow, this is a gorgeously shot film.
Absolutely.
Gorgeous, you know?
And one of the things I had known too was like I had known that this people really like the script. So if there were script categories, I put it in script categories, and it got honorable mentions in a couple script categories, which is cool. But again, this is evidence of like what I had seen from other people telling me what they really appreciated. It wasn't like I want to win in this category. It was kind of more like, no, I think this is actually like what it should win for, kind of like, you know what I mean, like based on what I'm hearing from people. So yeah, that was wild,
and that's really smart too, that you're kind of like getting the feedback from people who watched it, and then utilizing the feedback to like where you like what you should, you know, campaign for. I think it was a really smart decision to kind of do that.
Because, well, that's where I'm a better, that kind of thing is where I'm a better producer, right? It's like I can take off my director hat, and even though I said this on Instagram a little while ago, Kirk Boville is my favorite actor. Right.
Okay.
Like I love working with everybody, but like Kirk, I worked with Kirk on the first film that I ever co-wrote and co-produced. I worked with Kirk, and he was just doing like student level films, just kind of like trying to get his foot in the door. And now he's worked with Adam McKay and been in Oscar nominated movies. So like, he's my favorite actor, like partially because I met him 15 years ago when he was not a famous actor. So he didn't win any awards, but I think his performance is like stunning, right? Like I think his performance is amazing. So the awards are like, I appreciate them, but they're not always even accurate to what is necessarily the best part of the film, right? Or like the most meaningful part of the film. But I knew that Colleen had done an amazing job. Everyone laughs at Spencer. I mean, so my point was though, is that one of the things that I like to do as when I put my producer hat on, I take off my director hat, I take off my writing hat, and I go, I already wrote it, I already directed it, right? I have not marketed it yet. What are people telling me that they really like about this, and how could I market it if I was going to market it, right? Like, so it's a different hat, because if I was a director, I'd tell you Kirk should win all the things, or if I was a director, I would tell you Lucas should win all the things. But so I did enter it in for Kirk and Lucas, because people had told me that they loved Lucas's cinematography, and everyone loves Kirk, but you know, the festivals didn't award those. Is that fair? I don't think so. I think they should win awards, right? Like, I think they're amazing. So it's just weird. I mean, that whole thing's weird, but you know.
So, Jay.
Yes.
Simple question. What now? So,
a couple things. One really cool thing, but before I get there, one of the things that happened is that this is really random. Like, these are the kind of things where like I attribute these just to blessings, right? Like, I had joined a film group on Facebook when I moved to where I live now, and I messaged them to try see if I can get involved, and their response was kind of like, what word do I want to use? The response was kind of like a big timer response, which is really weird for where I live, because that's like, film is not like huge where I live, right? And you know how like you just get like that, like I'm not saying that the person intended it this way, because it's just words on a screen on Facebook, but it felt like it was kind of like, yeah, sure, buddy, you're a filmmaker, kind of like that, right? And I'm like, oh man, that's like weird. That's like a weird response. Yeah. So I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I guess I'll find my other way. And I actually found other people that were doing film stuff, and they're awesome people. But this lady Chantel posts in the group and says, I want to do a film showcase. Does anybody know any good films that are happening in Northern Colorado? And I said, well, actually, I've been looking for a place to screen in Colorado, and I would love to talk to you about this. So Chantel is a producer who has done some television what does she call it? I believe she says it's non-narrative documentary storytelling, and non-narrative. That's wrong. Unscripted documentary is what she's done. And so Chantel is like this like go-getter of a person, and she went to the nicest hotel in town and said, I want to do a film showcase and bring people in to talk about films and showcase the films and show the films. And she brought in all these people, right? Like, and I met this guy named Anders. He's awesome. He did a film called Green and Gold, which was just released in theaters. and has really good reviews. It broke even and everything. Anders graduated from the same college I graduated from, which is a small college in California,
Wow.
5 years apart from each other, and we knew a bunch of the same people. Crazy.
Wow.
So he's out in my area, and he's creating film. I'm here, so he's part of the showcase. And Chantel basically says, like, I'm going to just do this film showcase, and we're going to launch it with no vacancy. And I was like, that sounds amazing. And she put together a whole Q&A, and she brought in Maya to ask questions. Well, we did a podcast before we ever did the screening and the Q&A. And I'm going to get to that in a minute because that's the cool part. Because Tones, you're asking me what's going to happen next. And in the Q&A, in the podcast that we did, which hasn't been released yet, otherwise I'd refer you to it. It was about the power of belief, right? And one of the things I said on the podcast was like, well, we wrote the scripts, but like, belief is something in my mind that you practice it, but you hear a lot of times, like you see these motivational posters, like just believe, right? And you're just like, yeah, what does that even mean though? Like, what do you mean? Like, and belief to me, and this is how like we progress in making the film. Belief to me is like, what do I need to know to be able to accomplish the thing that I would like to accomplish? And getting better and improving at that thing makes me believe that I can do it, right? So I write the scripts. I feel very confident in my writing ability. I send the scripts off. They do well in contests. Now I go, okay, I believe a little bit more in these scripts, right? And it's not that I didn't believe in them to begin with, but if you believe something and you test it and it comes back to you that it's testing well, you start to believe it more, right? And so when Lucas said like, hey, do you want to direct it? Well, I don't really believe in myself as a director. I have directed audio projects before, never done a film directing at all in my life, but I've worked with actors from a directorial perspective when they're reading audiobooks. Okay, well, what else could I do to improve my skills? I'm going to go do table reads and have people read the table reads. Now I gain confidence. I believe in it more. They come to me afterwards and go, I really love this script. This was so fun to do. Thanks for bringing it. Now I believe a little bit more in it, right? Then I brought them into my basement, this different basement because I was living in a different place. Brought them into my basement. I brought 5 actors into my, was it 4? 5 actors. Brought 5 actors into my basement, paid them all to be there, by the way, and then shut up my iPhone and directed them, right? And it was like, I'm practicing directing. Then I was like, okay, when I tell them that the line read could be a little bit different, how do I tell them? Well, I want to give them the vision of what's going on, not just telling them like, could you read it angrier? No, that's not. Your character is in a place where she's feeling this. Like, how would you change your reading based on that? I would do it this way. That's perfect. I love that reading. Now we change it. We're collaborating. So you learn, right? Like you're learning all of these things that make you believe more. And so I think that's an important step is like believe in yourself, but then test that belief in yourself to learn where you're not good enough to where you can get better, right? Hire collaborators, rely on other people, like invite people into the process because the end result is that you want an awesome movie, not because you want accolades or whatever you want, right? Like you want an awesome film. So anyways, we do this film showcase and these are the kind of things that like I'm going to give you a little bit behind the scenes baseball, so to speak. But like I can't give any like specifics because like nothing is for sure, and so you don't say anything because like when you hear people talk on a thing and they go, "Oh, I really can't talk about that project," it's because until it's actually activated. The only reason that I'm going to explain this a little bit more than most people might is because I think it's fun for people to know how this kind of stuff works. But we're at the Q&A and the screening went just as good as it did in Orange County. Like the questions that we were getting were insane. People were like, "Can you define shame and guilt? Like, what's your definition of shame and guilt?"
Amazing.
And like, just like these questions where it was like these people would be like, "Wow, this is like really impacted me. Like, I really love what you did with this film. Like really, really, really awesome stuff." Well, this guy moved to my city, my area, and if I were to tell you his name and you wouldn't know him, but if you were to go look him up on IMDb, you'd be like, holy shit, this guy's super legit. He has like 30 plus credits to his name, right? Like on IMDb, which is pretty crazy. He saw the film. He was like, I really like this film. Send me the script, send me the pitch deck. I can't wait to meet with you about it. So I'm having coffee with him tomorrow morning. So like these are the kind of things that like, yeah,
That's awesome.
you're just like, now again, did I like strategically plan this out? No, I was just looking for opportunities to have conversations about the film. You're just putting yourself in a place where these kinds of things can happen. But at the end of the day, they're in my opinion, they're blessings. You could say that it's lucky. You could say that it's fortune. You could say whatever you want to say. But I believe that these are blessings. And does it mean that the film is going to get made? No. But the goal is to make the next film, right? Like the goal is to say, yeah, we did this one. Let's do another one. And I feel very confident that we can do it, and I feel excited to do it. I don't think I've, I never thought that I would be at this late in life, at age 44, being like, yeah, I'm kicking off my career as a director, but I would love to, right? Like that'd be amazing. I love it. And Marty's working until he's in his 80s, so I got 40 years left in me, boys.
Yeah, 40 years. 40 years. Exactly.
And of course we're friends, Jay. I consider you a good friend of mine. I would still let you know if something about the movie that I didn't like. All in all, this movie was amazing, and when you could tell when a movie is a short film or a low budget film. You could tell when it comes to all these. I didn't get that vibe off your movie. Obviously, when you see a low budget film, most of the time you don't recognize, or when you see a high budget film, you see a actor you recognize at least through something. When it comes to a short film, you obviously could tell, okay, I've never seen these people before, so it has to be low budget. But you still don't even get that from that either. Like these actors were almost, they portrayed their characters very well, and that's what, like you said, it all comes together and everyone has a vision for this movie. And you couldn't tell within that movie, or you could tell that these people adapted their character and wanted to play their character to their best ability. And that's why I think when I told you when I first watched it that this could potentially be something bigger than what it is. And like I said, I'm not just saying that because we're good friends. I'm saying that because I truly like the way that I look at film. I break down film pretty well.
Yeah,
and music too. And music too. You break it down.
And music as well. Like there's particulars that I like when it comes to things that I enjoy. With that. Recently, I got into it. Not got into it, but I got into a conversation with someone when it comes to a TV show called The Wheel of Time that recently just got canceled.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't think a TV show that I've seen over the years can come close to what the cinematography that I saw in season 3. And
which was better than the other 2 seasons, by the way.
100%.
Season 3 was amazing. Yeah,
100%. And I was blown away. And I kept telling there's certain things that I love in film. And of course, the book readers, they dislike the show because of the lack of the adaptation, or the lack of what storyline was put in the books that they put in the show. But I always have these conversations of, okay, there's a difference between a book and a TV show. But anyway, to kind of wrap it up, but there's films that I like, and what you filmed, what the storyline that you put in there was amazing. And I do see something coming of this for sure. And you've done a great job with it. You've handled it well. And some people could have just filmed it and said, okay, let's fucking just throw it out there, see what happens. But you were really particular with what you did with it. And I think that goes a long way for sure.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. I think that there's a tendency. I'm very type A, right? It's, in fact, I would love to be more type B. I'm just not good at it.
Now, real quick, what are the differences between those two?
So
what's a type A? What's a type B?
Type A is like you do things because there's a reason to do them. You do them because you think about them as having purpose in the way that it's going to go. Type B is kind of like, I'm just going to do this and put it out there and just see what happens, and I don't care too much. And a lot of artists are type B personalities, right? Like creative people are often type B because they're just getting ideas and they're like, I need to be free to be able to express myself. And I love creativity and I express myself through creativity, but it's a little bit different. Like the strategy brain doesn't turn off, right? So when I hear somebody that I really respect, like Chris Easterly, say you really shouldn't do movies over 10 minutes, I go, well, in my strategy, I would. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not wrong, But in my strategy, I would like, or if I hear Luke Barnett go like the festival circuit, it doesn't do that much for you, and I watch all the films that I see going through the festival circuit, I go, he's 100% right, but not for what I'm doing, right? So I don't turn those. It's hard for me to turn that part of the brain off. But we've also gotten so blessed by certain aspects of things that we planned to put it on YouTube. And then due to circumstances that we had zero control over, we went, oh, maybe that's not the best way of utilizing this. Maybe we should utilize it in a different way. And so we got like, how many people can say we did a local screening of our film and it's somebody who's super legit came in and said, like, I want to read your script and I want to see your like that's not like something that happens. You know what I mean? Like, so I mean, obviously it does happen, but it's unlikely to happen.
Unlikely. Yeah.
And so I feel like. And by the way, I might meet the guy tomorrow and be like, I think the script is dog shit. Like, I don't want to, like, whatever. That can always happen. But that, by the way, won't deter me from still trying to get the film.
Exactly.
Like, so I think that there's a certain amount of like, also like, if I were to list for you all the festivals who said no to us, there's a whole bunch of them. Right. And so like, you guys got to be like, okay, that person said no. That person said no. No big deal. I'm still moving forward. My college professor. So I had taken classes from this college professor and I was doing a lot of prose writing with him, right? And he's just kind of like a guy who doesn't give compliments, right? He gives you a grade, but like most of the thing is like, well, this story is ridiculous because of these things. And like, well, he's more of that kind of guy. I took a screenwriting class from him. He reads my script and he starts laughing. He puts it down and he goes, This is horrible. And he's like, you're such a good prose writer. I expected it to be better, but stick to prose, man. This is no good. Well, did I take that and go like, one person's opinion of one script that I wrote means that I should just stop doing this?
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not doing.
What script was it, by the way? Was it the No Vacancy script that you?
Oh, no. This is 20 years ago. So this is like this was a script. You remember the movie Ronin with
why is that sound
Robert
familiar?
What's the guy's name? Robert De Niro. Ronin with Robert De Niro is an awesome movie. It's a spy thriller kind of movie, and I wrote a spy thriller film. Right, that's the first film that I ever wrote. And it was terrible because the first film anyone writes is usually terrible.
Well,
right?
And this is the thing that this is what separates a winner mentality from a loser mentality. A lot like people that win in life take the hit and they keep going. They take the hit and they learn and they grow and they get better and they succeed. Walt Disney was not an instant hit. Yeah. People were laughing at him. You're gonna make an animated movie. No one's gonna sit in the theater for an hour and a half and watch a cartoon. That's ridiculous, Walt. Yeah. Look what happened. You know what I'm saying? So that's the winner mentality. Is like, you know what? Like you were saying, Jay. I'm not gonna care. Not that I'm not gonna care, but I'm gonna not put so much weight into other people's opinions. I'm gonna have faith in my project, and I'm gonna keep going forward with it. I'll take criticisms, learn, grow along the way. But that's what successful people do. You got to take the hits. Every person that's ever done anything in this world has taken those hits, has failed. They learn from it and they keep going.
Yep.
You lose more than you win. 100%.
Oh,
every time.
Absolutely.
And I think criticism is huge when it comes to just anything you do in general. Like you could just do anything and you would be criticized for it. But do you take that criticism as something that's looked at as bad, or do you take it as a lesson and move forward with it and learn from it and do something different? Exactly. Or do something better, or even do the same thing, but just don't listen to what it's just how you react to criticism is what, and you did it properly.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, there's always like, people are always going to give you their opinions. And sometimes those opinions there's opinions on the film that I acknowledge. I understand why the people have those opinions. But I've heard the exact opposite opinion from other people. And I go, okay, well, if these two opinions are being held together, why did this person hold this opinion? And why did this whole person hold this opinion? I could recut the film to go with this person's opinion. But I'm not doing that because when I actually look at the type of person that I'm trying to reach with the film, it's not this kind of person. It's this kind of person. So, so there's these so you have to listen. You have to appreciate what you guys are saying. You have to learn. And then you have to choose whether or not to adapt and know why you're either adapting or not adapting. And most of the time you should adapt. But there's occasionally times when you shouldn't adapt. And how do you define that? You either have really good intuition or you monitor things and learn from them and go, this makes more sense in this context. So I'm going to go with this particular opinion.
I kind of have to, I don't know if you know the answer to this or if there's even an answer to this.
Yeah.
But when you like, me, there's specific movies and TV shows that I like to watch, you know, fantasy, action, drama, whatever it is. Like when you submit these your movie, for instance, do you submit it to a certain genre festival? Do you submit it to, you know, all around just short film festival? Because like you don't want to submit something where it's like you have a panel or people who watch it and they just nothing but they just love action movies or they just love dramas, like because you fit a certain niche or a certain genre when it comes to your specific movie, and some people might not like that. You know what I'm saying? So is that do you know how any of that works? As far as
here's my, you want to hear my strategy of submitting to festivals?
Sure.
Okay. The first thing I do is I go, is this festival just trying to screw writers or directors or filmmakers over, or is it trying to like promote film in a way that's beneficial, right? Because there are some people who just have film festivals so that they can make money off of people who want to submit to the festivals, and they just go, you know, whatever. So that's my first cut. And you look at that, you look at the reviews the festival gets, you look at the kinds of people who have attended the festival in the past, like that's what you're looking for, right? The next step is, okay, well, why would I submit to this festival? And so then what you start to do is you start to cobble together this view of festivals. There's the tier A festivals, which I thought we were going to get into one tier A festival. I won't say which one it is, but one of the cast members on our film actually had a connection at this film festival. It's an Academy Awards qualifying festival, and I'm like, dude, if we get into this, that's going to be legit, right? And I think we narrowly missed because of how close this person is to the person who runs the festival. But again, these things are super political, dude. Yeah. Just to give you a feel, when I say political, what do I mean? Okay, the chance of an independent random filmmaker getting into Sundance is close to zero. It's as close to zero as you might imagine it being. So then what mostly gets chosen for Sundance? Well, think about it this way. When there's money involved, when there's deals that are going to be made, you have a bunch of advocates who are going to receive a benefit for that film being shown at Sundance. And so they start to advocate with the people at Sundance. And this guy knows this guy, and they go, yeah, I know you saw No Vacancy, but this other film, like that director of that film is getting hired by Neon next year. I can guarantee you right now, if all of a sudden if we got picked up, but if my feature film gets picked up by Neon or something like that, you would have a bunch of festivals to be like, let's go screen No Vacancy, like bring it on over, right? Because it's good for them. It's good for them. It's good for the people involved. It raises everybody's attention. So you can't, when you're submitting to these things, you have to go like, that's probably like a pie in the sky idea that we would even make it into that. So you might submit to some of those, but then you might not submit to some of those. And then you would submit to other ones like, okay, well, the Pasadena International Film Festival is a really highly respected one, right? It's kind of like a more independent, it's not like super glamorous or anything. So I'm going to submit to that one. I've submitted to a few and attended a few that I was like, oh, this is predominantly a film festival to benefit the interests of the people who run it. Okay, I don't know if I'd submit to that festival again next year, right? Like, whereas there's other film festivals that are like super merit based. It's like these are and I go watch the films. I'm like, those are legit films. Like, I don't know like how these ones are. You go to other films and it's like, I don't know how that film is showcasing next to that film. Because these are way different quality films, right? Yeah. A lot of film festivals also like it when you're associated with the city in some way, shape, or form, right? So, like for example, I submitted to the Waco Film Festival. Why? Because my brother lived in Waco at the time, and I was like, my brother lives in Waco. I'll come see him, and I'll go to the film festival. We didn't get into that one, by the way. But so you're looking for like, do I have a connection? Is there a reason to do it? I have 2 film festivals that I really hope we get into. One of which I actually met 2 of the people who pull it off at another film festival that I didn't even like. I didn't even like the film festival that I went to, but these 2 people were like, your film was legit. We liked it a lot. And I'm like, I'm going to submit it to your film festival then. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, so those are the kind of things that you're constantly trying to do and look for and kind of like negotiate and work through. And then every once in a while, you just like you meet somebody that's like, wow, that was a really great connection to have with these folks. So that was kind of my strategy of like try to get into some like A-, B+ kind of tier festivals, get into some other smaller ones, get into others that like clearly they are advocates of independent film. Right. Because like there's a couple film festivals that like, I mean, this one guy did a write up on our film where he's just like, you know, Jay and Lucas, I'm comparing them to these other directors who are like, what, dude? Like those directors are amazing, and you're comparing us to them. Like that's crazy, you know. But that guy is like super passionate about independent filmmaking, and he wants to help people out. And so awesome. I think we got nominated for like 5 awards on that one. We didn't win any, but we got 5 nominations, which was amazing. So yeah, it's wild, man. Like it's just a whole game, and you play the game to the best of your ability, and you experience some blessings along the way. You experience some, I don't understand why we didn't get into that one. You know what I mean? Like, and then you start to see other films that are all getting into the same festivals that you're getting into. And then maybe they get into one that you didn't get into. And you're like, why didn't I get into that one? That's a bummer. Yeah. You know? But it's just the way that it is. And you just kind of, again, it's better to have a producer's hat in that circumstance. It's better to think like Bob Iger than it is to think like James Gunn, who just made the film, because now you're putting on your business cap and you're going like, I win some, I lose some. The more important part is, did we make money? Did we meet the right people? And are we setting ourselves up for the future? Not, did people just fawn over my film and I win a bunch of awards? So you got to take that hat off at some point and put on the other hat and be like, okay, now I'm doing business. I'm not the creative guy right now. I'm the business guy right now. Yeah. And it's just the way it has to work.
Yeah, you got to work between both of those. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Absolutely. And whether it be what you're doing with the directing and all that, or what we do here with the content, you got to have thick skin in this game. It's tough out there, you know. It's a tough biz, you know. But I don't know though. Froggy Style 69 said my Avatar video sucked yesterday, so I'm probably gonna delete my channel.
Might as well just throw it out, OG.
I'm done. I'm gonna cancel. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, it's time to hang it up, OG. Just
hang it up, dude. It's over. We had a good run, bro.
Yeah. There's also this thing. I mean, I was watching a podcast today where it was the interview with Jimmy Fallon, and like, there's a whole business around trying to tear people down.
Yeah,
and it's just real. It's real. It's there's no denying it. It just is what it is, and it just sucks, right? Like, it just sucks. So I know, for example, that I rarely go on Twitter anymore, and it's usually only to look to see if you guys sent me something. But like, the reality is, I will probably never look at. I don't ever want to look at the reviews of movies that I do and stuff. Like, they don't know what it's like to make movies. Most of the critics that criticize films and stuff like that, they have no clue what even goes into it. They would not be able to do it if they tried. And so you just have to take all of that. It's not to say it's not to say that their opinion is wrong. It's not to say that their opinion is bad. I'm not saying that. They might be 100% correct, but the way that they say it might be harsh, or the way that they come off might be. And by the way, I've been an idiot sometimes too. I remember this one time where I threw this guy under the bus super hard, and I thought it was kind of funny, but I didn't realize I was being an asshole. So this guy had made a comment on Twitter publicly about a Stephen King thing, and I tagged Stephen King and was like, well, what do you think about this opinion, Stephen King? And I was like, and the guy was like, I left Twitter. I wasn't even thinking about it. And I came back to Twitter, and everyone was calling me like a total dipshit and like, you're such an asshole for doing this. And I was like, oh shit. Like, I wasn't trying to be like that, and I apologized to the guy, and I was like, hey, I did not mean to like throw you under the bus. I just thought it was funny, and I thought if you're gonna put your opinion out there about this kind of thing, I thought it was kind of like tongue in cheek, and so I wasn't thinking like, oh no, this guy doesn't want Stephen King to see this, because why why the hell would you post it publicly on Twitter? Like, actually, maybe you should have tagged him if you felt like that was really your opinion. But no, you whatever. I'm still a little bit bitter about it. But I apologize to him because I wasn't trying to do what you thought I was trying to do. I just thought this was funny. Right. So I think there is that happens too, right? Like these people that are kind of just being trolls because they kind of thought something was funny and they don't realize that it came off really wrong. Yeah. So there's such a wide degree of like misinterpretation that I feel like I don't even want to know. I'm just like, no, I just want to talk to the people I trust. I want to talk to the people that I've never met before, but whose opinions matter to me in person. But like some random person on Twitter, like who cares what that person thinks? I don't care.
No, 100%. And my Twitter usage has gone way down. Like I'm with you. I'm in the DMs with you guys, but I don't go on the timeline. I'm not trying to argue with anybody over the Disney parks, any of that stuff. I don't care. I do the channel, and I interact like with all you guys and stuff. I had a great time doing that. I don't need to interact with randos on Twitter and argue with them all day. It's such a waste of time. It's it's not constructive. It's not healthy, and nothing good has ever come out of like doing any of that. You know what I'm saying?
No, never.
But sorry, Tones. Go ahead, brother.
No, I was just gonna say you would definitely hate TikTok then. It is bad over there.
I mean, even the YouTube comments sometimes I'm like someone will leave you a YouTube comment and you're like, you didn't even watch the video, did you?
Yeah,
like exactly. Like that comment is nonsense. Like and sometimes I will clap back in like a, not like trying to be a jerk, but being like, do you even know what you're talking? Like, do you even know what you're talking about? Like someone commented the other day about a video I had done, and I'm like, did you watch the whole video? Because I actually talked about the thing that you're criticizing. I think you just watched the first 30 seconds and you're like, oh, this is what it is. I'm out. I'm like, bro, like before you leave comments, maybe engage in the person's material some more. And then when you do comment, have something constructive to say about it. And if you have something constructive to say, then you have a well-reasoned why.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that. I fucking love what you just said.
100%.
Like I've been fighting for my life when it comes to the real time lately, because I've been advocating for people to sign the petition for this show because it was that good in my opinion. Like it gave me a really good look on the way they were trying to tell the story. And people who come in my comments, of course, it's book readers who didn't like the show, and they just tell me that the show is woke. And I'm like, I'm mind blown because I'm like, what the fuck is woke about this? So they're like, oh, there's kissing. Two women were kissing. I was like, that's, people have been gay since the beginning of time. Like, why is this woke? You saw me, like people think, and it's so irritating because they don't educate themselves to have that opinion that they have.
It's so reductive. It's so reductive. Everything. It's like this, almost like this, just like this knee jerk, like, oh, it's woke.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And here's the way I feel about it too, right? Like, okay, so first of all, if I put something out on YouTube, it is not, I know that most of YouTube is like people just reacting with the way that they feel, right? And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. It is not the way I do it, okay? I have probably thought about the thing that I'm going to release a piece of content on for like dozens of hours before I ever come to the table and say, this is my actual held opinion on it, right? Now, I don't do that about everything. If you guys all of a sudden sprung on me like, what did you think of this? I'd be like, I thought it was stupid. And I can easily be reductive. It's not that hard. You take a well-reasoned thing and you start to remove nuance from it. Right. So I could take even my own movies and be like, oh, this was too slow. This guy's not as funny as he thinks he is. This part didn't even make sense. You could have handled this better. You messed up this part. I could do that to my own movie. Why? Because I thought about it a lot. Right. And so, but I also can go, but this and this and this and this and this, and that's more important than those and those and those and those, and so therefore I have this opinion, right? Now I can be reductive and go like, it's boring, right? But like I try to have more nuance in that. So if you have, and by the way, I love well-reasoned opinions that disagree with me. And I'll usually acknowledge them. I'll usually be like, that is actually a really good point. I thought about that point. You could be right if that's true, but here's why I don't think it's true given this other information. 100%. Right?
100%. It's funny, Jay. It's funny you mentioned the boring thing. I actually had a comment on, in your community post.
Yeah.
this was like from a week or two ago. I was congratulating Theme Park Wizard, who's a great guy.
Oh,
you know?
amazing.
Amazing
Shout out
dude.
to Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan's amazing. And I was just it was just a post congratulating Ethan on 6,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
And I just said, hey, congratulations, bro. You know, it's an honor being your friend. I really, you know, I respect and appreciate you, man. That was it. Someone comments, boring. What? What? I'm just congratulating my friend on a milestone. Like, what do you mean boring? Like, come on, get out of here. You know?
Well, and here's one of the things. I actually have had actual comments too, because I don't do this because I don't want to be mean, but like a part of me really wants to be a troll because I think like so. We all bust each other's balls in the DMs, right?
Oh, totally.
Because it's fun. We all know that we are friends, that we would support one another. We're there for one another. Like we just do that because it's actually, in my opinion, funny, right? And I would not want to be like busting somebody's balls on something that's like really hurtful to them. That's not funny anymore, right?
Yeah.
If it's hurtful, that's not cool. If it's funny, then that's fine. And I've had people do that to me in the comments. I'm like, bro, a really good, well done troll to me is still really funny. But I realize it's not funny to everybody. So like, I can see that being really funny. Like, hey, this is really boring. It's kind of funny.
It's kind of funny. I was kind of like, okay, all right.
Yeah, I had somebody say one time. Who's the guy? There's a guy on YouTube, a really famous YouTuber that has a beard and wears hats all the time. And this person said, like, I can't remember who it was, but like, okay, whatever you say, this person. And like they did some like laughing faces. And I'm like, bro, that's really funny. Now, I appreciate they took the time to watch the video. They stayed long enough to recognize that I look like that other guy, and then they kind of were like, "Oh, I'm gonna just kind of like make a humorous comment." I'm here for that, dude. I think that can be funny too. It's just when it's the comments that I don't like are not the people who are trying to be funny. It's the people who are like, "I know more than you do about this topic, even though I've spent a fifth or a tenth of the time or a hundredth of the time thinking about it. I'm having an emotional response. I can't control my fingers when my emotions are all upset. And I just started pounding on a keyboard like a monkey until this stupid sentence came out that doesn't actually make any sense." Yeah. Don't leave those kind of comments. Like, think about it for a while.
Yes.
Assess yourself. Why did this bother me? There's a movie that came out recently. I won't say what it is because I don't like criticizing filmmakers these days a lot of times, but like, if you guys want to know, like, we can talk about it, like, just not publicly. But I was like, dude, this movie felt like it was literally written by AI. Like, it's an affront to the creative process. And that's not me like complaining about the creator of the movie. It's just me like reflecting on like, what is this industry coming to that we're going to be releasing these types of things. And so I think that there's good discussions to be had like that. I'm not against you critiquing things. I'm not against you saying this could be better. This is not good. This is good. We should have those kind of conversations, but be artful about it. Be thoughtful about it. Explain why. If you can't explain why is it boring? Right?
Exactly.
If you can't explain why it's boring and you're not funny, then your comment's stupid. Yeah. If you just say a comment that is funny and it's like mildly offensive, okay, maybe I'll give you the humor excuse. If you say a comment that's just stupid and it's just like rote emotion, what do you want me to say? Like, come on, dude, whatever. I don't care, you know?
Yeah. I'll give this guy credit. He not only did he say boring, but he added like 2 bed emojis. I'm like, I said,
this is hilarious.
Okay, that's pretty clever. Yeah.
Somebody, okay, so this is what we need in the comments of this video. Everybody put boring, bed emoji, and you will get our laughs.
There you go. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So, Jay, fantastic conversation. Love diving into this stuff with you, brother. Amazing, amazing conversation. If you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, and if you have any final thoughts before we get out of here.
Yeah, I'm trying to create another video. It's just taking me forever because the back pain is actually pretty intense, and so that's why it's so much easier to play Fortnite than actually work on a script for this video. But I have a video coming out on the Prestige explained, digging kind of deeper into the Prestige. So hopefully that'll come out. I don't know when it's gonna come out, to be honest with you. It might be months. But that's all going to be found over at How Stories Work with Jay Sherer. That's where I break down movies. I talk about what different shot choices directors made and how it was important, or I explain movies to say, here's why this movie is really meaningful, and here's what exactly is going on in this movie about why we should pay attention to it. And yeah, How Stories Work with Jay Sherer is kind of like the best place to find me about those things.
There he is. And again, Jay, congratulations on all the success for No Vacancy. We are so proud of you here at OG55, and you have all the support here, brother.
There's going to be Colleen says she's putting the other trophy in the mail, but it looks just like this one, so they get to sit right next to each other.
Hey,
there we go. 100%. Mr. Tonez Poppy, brother, it's always good to have you on the show. Where could everybody find you on social media?
Sir. Of course, thank you, OG, for having me. I love talking, have a conversation with you. And Jay, of course, bro, congratulations on everything. Best of luck to whatever comes next to you, throwing at you, because I know you will overcome it and you will definitely give it your best. And I feel like I said before, I do feel like you have the right vision on what you want to do with this movie, and it looks like you're doing it. So hopefully that comes for tuition. But yeah, guys, if you want to catch me at Bad Thought Studio, go to YouTube, or also go to my TikTok, or I guess X now, Tonez_TV. Going to follow me there.
There he is. Everybody at home, comment down below with all your thoughts on everything we discussed today, the directorial process, the festival circuit, all that good stuff. We would love to hear from you. Comment down below. Thank you so much for watching this episode of The Story Geeks, hosted by OG and Tonez today, but usually hosted by Mr. Jay Sherer here on OG50.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.